Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast.
We thought a good topic for today's podcast, after talking about our emotions last week, would be how to regulate ourselves, like ways that we found that help us to regulate ourselves, or things we've heard about. I don't know, just going into a bit more about the things that we can do to help ourselves when perhaps we're feeling overwhelmed by emotions, and I don't know.
Yeah, once we've become aware and identified that we are being overwhelmed. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's not even just overwhelmed. Quite often we hold on to the emotion, and sometimes like certain practices and things that you can do, like it's that whole thing. Some things work better for some people, and it's that whole thing how we perceive our world and how we change how we're feeling is done differently depending on, well, I think depending on how we've been brought up and how we also have learned to live in this world with how we feel and things, processing and...
Yeah, and we all process, like you say, and handle emotions completely differently. So things that work for me, I don't imagine work for a lot of people.
I don't know. I think there's probably more people like you in the world.
Well, I just keep meeting people like you.
And I'm not a good example. If you want to meet someone who gets easily emotionally overwhelmed and struggles to let go of things, that's me. I'm working on it. I'm aware of it.
Whereas I'm emotionally flat.
No, you're not at all. You may think you are, but you're not. It's just that it's not on your sleeve like me. So, like, I can feel when you're going through different emotions.
Yes, but it's much subtler.
It's really subtle compared to me, who... Subtle too, yeah? Yeah.
You're bright and dazzling.
In my anger or anxiety or sadness or happiness or...
Hey, at least you put something positive in there.
Yeah, I tried.
Interesting, the first places you went were...
It's the emotions that I struggle with. It's not that I think they're bad. It's just that those emotions tend to send me on a tailspin,
Yeah.
But like we were talking about, there are things that I've learned that help me to process and help myself just move on with an emotion.
So, I feel like this can be split up into two things. Like, practices you do that help you regulate yourself.
I was thinking that.
As well as things you do in the moment.
Yes. Definitely.
Because they're two very different things.
Yes. I think, because we've spoke about it before and we did wonder whether to just do a whole podcast on it, but I think kind of integrating it into other things is quite good because it does integrate, and that's meditation. And that's something that I do every morning. Some days it's really easy to do. Some days it's really hard to do because sometimes I don't want to sit with myself. Even if I'm being guided by... a guided, because you get the guided meditations where they take you through whatever they're going to guide you through. Sometimes even that can just feel like don't want to sit with it. But I will quite often invite myself to sit with it. And if I feel like that, I do a shorter one. So I'm not piling the pressure on to do something that I'm struggling with. So
for a non-meditator, describe it to me.
It's a practice because it's practicing I'm going to go real, from my point of view, from my perspective, definitely. How I feel meditation is and what I've experienced, because everyone experiences differently. It's done differently by different teachers, different guides. So, I have come to enjoy it because I do it first thing in the morning and it's my time to connect in with me and see where I'm at. Okay.
So do you, as you're meditating, do you kind of ask yourself that question of the where am I?
No, don't forget I've been doing this every day, pretty much every single day since 2017.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly how it was
Yeah.
in 2017
well,
to now.
let me explain, because I have tried meditation before.
Yeah.
Guided meditations, if it gels well with me, the person that's doing it, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But that's, sort of them taking you through a series of visualizations.
Yeah, or a process.
Or a process, yeah. Well, some of them can be quite visual. Some of them can be very, you're breathing and focusing on your breathing and things like that. And then if I just meditate myself without anything.
Yeah, just sitting in the stillness.
I kind of don't know where to go. If I can do focus on my heartbeat, or focus on my breathing, or focus on relaxing my body, seeing how I'm checking in with my body, something like that. But so I feel like there's honestly I feel like I should be doing something more.
Yeah.
That it's that question. It's like, am I doing this right?
So that, and I think like that is always the hang up, or a lot of people's hang up, is this idea that we should be doing it and it should happen a certain way, and we should feel a certain way, and we should feel a certain way when it's done. And what I've come to learn is, from doing it so much, is that it feels different every time.
Yes.
No matter if I did the exact same meditation every day, it would feel different every single time. I've forgotten where I was going with this. Yeah, and I think that the doing is what we get hung up on. I think we're human beings.
Yeah.
It's something that we're...
So what I find is, if I focus in, say, my breathing, that's a nice easy one, breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing, and I get to not very long after that, and I'm like, okay,
we're done. Yeah.
What's next?
So
that does definitely calm me, but I feel like what's next, and then my mind starts to wander, and I don't know whether or not to follow, just let it wander, or try and stop it. So
I love it. So there's one guy who does guided meditations. A creative mind will always want to wander.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's normal, and that's okay. But he suggests, that's okay, but just, I've have it suggested like clouds blowing past you instead of catching onto them.
So instead of following it.
So it's because that allows the mind to still. So you're like, oh, well, that's coming. And then when you recognize that you're having a thought or following a thread with your creative mind, you're like, oh, okay, let that thread go again. Yeah. And then another thought will come through. It's not about not thinking. It's about not following the thoughts into doing too much. Because that's for me, it's this sense of coming back into being me and myself, and letting all the outside world, or all the thoughts and the creativity and all the to-do lists is just that is to sort of just drop away. So it's just me and me,
Okay. So that's interesting, is what will happen to me if I sit there quiet to meditate is things will pass through, especially the to-do list, the work type things. Those clouds, as you call them, very easy to let just pass by and ignore. But then a creative one, maybe something I'm wanting to write or a story I'm thinking about, will appear. And then I will latch on and I will follow it.
Because that's the creative mind. But it's like, okay, so if for me, I feel like if your mind is coming into creativity when you become still, then you definitely have an opportunity there. Your mind's telling you that you become still, you're going to get into your creativity. Yeah. So choose a point in the day where you invite that and do that. So even if it's immediately after your meditation, noting down some creativity. So allow the mind to follow that, to follow that thread to do it. I don't know if I'm right with that, but for me, I feel like meditation is about kind of letting go of trying to do something or create something or follow those kind of things. Although you do get visions and ideas and things like that, but it's more like a downloaded message, or that's like, it's quite often I'll be like, I must contact such and such, like it just comes in, and it's because I've hit that stillness, I get that sense of, oh, something, I do need to do that, so I just like make a note of that, then go back into stillness, see if anything else comes through. And it's quite often where because we come into the stillness, you hear your own intuition, you hear your own message, you realise, oh, I haven't heard from that person. It's like you come out of that doing, so then you hear everything that is coming through. But again, you don't sit and think about it and fall. It's like, oh, I wonder why I must do that. It's more, but it's also, I think as well, the intention behind the meditation. So if you go into it going, okay, I would like to use this meditation as something to allow my creative mind to start creating something, then I think that would be good, because what's going to come through is what you want to come through. For me, I will start a meditation by, I always connect in with the land around me. So I connect in with our garden, the trees all around me, the animals, and just get a sense of being within this area and this land right here.
Very much a sort of grounding type thing.
Totally. And when I do that, I feel like I'm part of the world. You feel like you're fully connected. And that's when I can move into the guided meditation that's there, or I can tune into messages that are coming through, or I can just sit and just feel. Like sometimes it's nice to just sit and feel. And some of the exercises that I do is like moving the energy around my body, or gathering in the energy from the sun, and just like, for me, because I'm a very feeling person, it's really nice to use that time to intentionally gather and get my energy moving in a positive way. Sometimes that feels really hard to do, and sometimes sitting still, I struggle to sit still. Sometimes I start a meditation with a guided meditation, I'm like, no, this is not the right meditation, try another. And sometimes when it's like that, it's quite often like no meditation feels right. And sometimes I will just be like, okay, I'm getting more and more resistant to it. So I'll just not do it, and instead I'll just make sure I have like a quiet time when I'm out with the dog walk. It's like introducing it when I'm moving, because perhaps I just need to move a little bit to allow myself to come back.
So it's interesting, because I definitely feel that I don't know what I should be doing with it.
You're not. I think that.
No, I get that. But then I hear things, and like I heard the guy who wrote, I can't remember his name for the life of me, My Big Toe book, and he was a computer programmer a long time ago, when they were using punch cards for code. So you had a card with a series of holes in it, and the computer read those holes and he couldn't get his program to work, and was having lots of problems with it. And he'd seen a sign for, I think they were paying people to go and do a meditation study. And he was like, well, sitting around doing nothing, that sounds great. And it changed his life because of what he got from meditation. But he meditated, and I think it was like an hour long or more. It was a long meditation session. But he worked out the problem with his code, and it was one of the cards of this stack of hundreds of cards that one of the holes was slightly punched wrong, and that was why it was reading it wrong. So the code was right, but the hole was slight, and he knew exactly which card it was and went and fixed it, and that he got from meditation. And so my mind works at that and goes, well, okay, I'm guessing that probably he saw it, and his subconscious mind, when it was given the quiet time, was like, we noticed this error.
No, I think we're getting onto the side of things where there's something, but you don't know what it is, because the amount of time I've had guidance, I'm thinking of like, I wanted to choose a crystal for my friend, and I could picture where it was in the shop. I knew exactly where it was in the shop. I didn't even know what crystal it was. I just knew there was a crystal I was buying for my friend, and it was just in the middle of meditation. It came through. It was like, you need to buy a crystal for this friend. It's there on the shelf. So I went and I was like, that's it, there on the shelf, you know. It's just when you quiet the busy thinking mind, something else comes through.
Yeah.
Whether it's inner guidance, bigger guidance, whether it's just a subconscious thing, you've seen it, but you don't know you've seen it.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is, that's why they talk about, you know, stillness and quietness. It's because when we're too busy doing, we don't receive the guidance that's always there trying to come through, you know?
So it seems like a bit of the meditation is the finding that quiet and then allowing to come whatever comes. Okay, that's interesting.
And it's like, where, if I don't know if you I think you have read, or Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
His thing was he healed his back, was it?
Yeah, his back.
Through hours of meditation and focusing on healing his back. And it's really interesting. And if, you know, I will just ruin the way I say it, but if you actually look at his stuff, you know.
Joe Dispenza's thing's really interesting because he had a lot of people telling him he needed to have surgery on his back and he'd get back some mobility, but not a lot. And he disagreed with them and went the meditation route. And if I remember correctly, he basically pictured his back being put right to sort of, quotation, tell his body how to put it right, and is fine afterwards. Really, side note, there's a fantasy book series that I read, and when they use healing magic in it, that's what they do, is they tell the body how to put itself right.
Well, when I do healing stuff, I'm not healing them. They're healing themselves. It's just I'm allowing the body to, you know, that like my way of doing is I clear things out the way and help the body to actually do what
and
it
I
needs
think
to
there's
do.
definitely something in there with the mind-body connection, especially the subconscious mind-body connection of the being able to tell it how to fix itself and how to be right. I think there's definitely something.
And I think, like,
there.
when you go into that, so if we take that in a more simplistic way, when we're talking about sitting with ourselves for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you're going to do as your meditation, and I actually want to put quotations there, meditation. I think because people get quite negative about it. Because
I wonder if that is the thing.
Yeah.
It's become quite a fashionable thing, meditation.
Yeah.
And so many people try and sell their particular brand of meditation. I think that's maybe one of the things that I struggle with it.
I can see that. What was I saying about meditation? Is that we do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. You are giving yourself an opportunity to realign and reset yourself because you actually quiet what's going on.
So you use it to realign and get in touch. Like, so do you use it to find balance or to find the imbalance and then find balance?
I don't have so much doing in it.
No. I'm doing all doing.
Okay. Sorry, my bad. Yes,
You will do.
Yes. When I go still and quiet, I do this. No. You know, it's I've found a few guided meditations that I enjoy. Sometimes I'm gonna go on a little journey here. Sometimes I find the guided too much, and sometimes I will listen to the same person with some of their different meditations, like for days, and then I sort of go off them, and it's like I think it depends how you're feeling in that moment. And,
as to what you sort of need.
And part of it is intuitively knowing what you need.
Okay.
And I just use the app Insight Timer because it is free and there's a lot of meditations free. I know there's the Headspace and Calm ones as well.
I think I used the Headspace one once and I did kind of like it. Yeah,
Headspace is quite good. You only get so much for free, same with Calm, whereas Insight Timer you get, I would say, probably 80 to 90% of the content free.
Yes.
I actually now pay for it because they do courses on there, meditation courses and things, which are quite fun to do. And I can download it so when we're off going on holiday. I've got things downloaded and stuff. Anyway, it's been, I'm not advertising anyone. It's just I use the Insight Timer app. It's hugely overwhelming because there's so many teachers on there. I
definitely found that with Insight Timer. Yeah. It's a bit like that. Oh, do you want to watch a movie tonight? And then you spend 3 hours looking for a movie to watch.
So I have come to find there's like 2 or 3 people that I really like.
Yeah.
What they do, and David J. This is David. Yeah, David J.I. Okay. He's quite a famous meditation-y guy, or at least I think he is. He does a lot of meditation stuff, and I use his a lot. Another guy who's in Canada, I really like the way he does his meditation. It's just like there's 2 or 3 that I'm like, I really like the way they do them.
Yeah.
And so anytime they bring out new ones, I'm looking for something within them that I'm looking for. So at the moment, I think I'm going to have a look, because I've got one that I'm listening to a lot at the moment, and it is just loading the app.
While you're looking that up, so I'm still trying to work this out.
All I need is within me now.
Oh, very nice. Thinking about the sort of coming from the emotional, the regulation side of things, I'm still trying to work out, is your meditation regulation or awareness?
It's discovery and regulation.
So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I would say so.
So do you have that moment sometimes in meditation where you're like, oh, that's how I'm feeling?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's how I'm feeling, or even, oh, that's why I'm feeling like I'm feeling.
Okay, so it's like sometimes why as well.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I'm like, I find it really hard to sit still and do this meditation, and then in that I'm like, okay, so what is causing this? And in that brief moment of stillness, I can have that, and I've quite often gone into a meditation because I work with another healer, and we'd been doing a few sessions, and I have always struggled a lot with my sinuses, and I couldn't, I was like, what? It's like, went to a meditation with the thought of, why is it always my sinuses that are flaring up? Why is this? And it came straight back down to when I got sort of trodden on by a horse on my nose. And I was like, So then I was able to take that to the session with my healer, and we were able to work together to heal that previous trauma from that experience to then help my sinuses heal better. Because sometimes it's like you can take layers with healing stuff, you're always working with layers. So you start and it's just like, okay, it's just that, there's a bit of imbalance in your nasal cavity or whatever, and then it goes down deeper and deeper to the point where it's actually there's some trauma that stored some emotional energy in there as well, that like you release these deeper layers, and then your sinuses are actually, or with talking about the example, my sinuses are actually able to heal better because I'm removing the layers.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's the thing about healing, is it's not linear, and when you think you've healed something, another layer comes. Yep. But we've just got to be grateful that we're always helping ourselves to slowly heal things that have over time have sort of put on these layers of stuff.
Okay, so that's meditation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still more thinking about this emotional regulation and.
So meditation allows me to be aware, and it helps me to be aware of how I feel. It also allows the emotions that have perhaps been sitting there and I haven't realized. So when you're busy doing, you don't allow emotions to always flow. So sometimes I'll sit in meditation and actually a wave of something will come through. Anxiety, sadness, anger, happiness. Whatever it is, and that can just allow it to actually flow through, because I'm no longer blocking it by doing, by keeping busy. We have that thing, if we keep busy, we don't have to look at what's going on within us, you know. So it's my time to tune in with me and just take a health check and allow things to come through. So that does allow me to emotionally regulate, because I know how I'm feeling. I
Yes.
know what's coming through.
Yeah,
I know
okay.
I know the emotions. And then from that, then we can get into, okay, so I'm now aware that I have, let's say, anger coming through.
Yeah.
How can I help myself with this anger? And I think
Mm-hmm.
we talked about it in the emotion one, is like getting to the root of why you're angry. And
Yes.
so in the meditation, you'd be like, well, the anger's come through, and just realize you're just kind of feeling that frustrated or angry or whatever, and be like, okay, what's causing this? And
Yeah.
because you're in that state of connection with yourself, you tend to get an answer. It's
Yeah.
that. Okay.
And you don't
And
so
then-
much latch onto the anger.
Yes, you're latching onto the why, the core reason.
Interesting.
And that can allow you to begin to process it, because it's like you spoke about, can I control that? Can I change that? Or is this something where I just have to, or get to, let this emotion go? And quite often anger, or quite often emotions are hiding other emotions.
Oh, yeah.
So you feel really angry, but actually it's sadness and disappointment that is causing you to
Yeah.
feel angry. It's like, if you don't allow things to flow, you never get to the root. And I feel like, for me, I feel like it's important to get to
The root.
why.
Yeah. I remember listening to someone, I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about it, and they reckoned that a lot of sort of the unhelpful emotions, anger and things like that, a lot of them are rooted down to fear.
Yeah.
But no, that's interesting, because for me, I'm trying to think about how I
Use meditation for you.
know how I become aware of emotions.
Okay, yeah.
It's like I'm just
Yeah, because,
aware that that's the way I feel. Because
Yeah.
I don't use meditation regularly as a way to...
check in. So that's why I do it first thing in the morning. I check in. How am I feeling today?
I
You
just
know?
kind of know how I'm feeling in the morning.
Or do you?
Or do I?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
That, like, perhaps you do. You're right. Perhaps you just know how you're feeling, because you know how you're feeling.
Maybe not as...
In depth.
No, I was going to say maybe not as quickly. Like, quite often I'll wake up and
Yeah.
I'll go and start just going about my chores, and I won't notice how I'm feeling immediately until I get sort of past that initial waking up moment. But then I'm aware of how I feel that day.
And I think,
And for me, that's the point that I decide on how I want to be.
yes, well, this is it. And that's like, the opportunity here is not to create stories about how you're feeling. Because that's one thing that I did when I worked with Amy, was that I would feel angry or whatever, then I would create a story about it, about me.
How do you mean?
So I'd be like, I'm angry. Well, I'm a terrible person. How could I be angry about
Okay.
that?
Yes.
So it's like building on it. So
Yeah.
it part of my learning process has been accepting an emotion as it is, understanding why it's there, and not creating anything else from it.
Interesting. Yeah, so you create the story. That's a really odd one for me.
Yes, of
Because,
course.
if I notice I'm angry, then I'll think, well, why am I angry? Oh, I'm angry because... But then I wouldn't create that.
Then
I'm
you
a
would-
terrible person.
Well, that's it. I shouldn't be angry about that. That's just ridiculous.
I always create
Yeah.
the reasoning in my... I'm angry because... And then usually it's something external. And then if I think about it more, it's usually, well, actually, it's not that thing. It's this thing that I'm kind
Yeah.
of... That's just wearing me thin.
Yeah.
But that thing made me angry because,
Yeah.
because I was already on the edge.
You see, I have really got into the meditation side of things and doing it first thing in the morning, because I work a lot with animals, and I work a lot with connecting with other people and animals, and I need a baseline.
Yeah.
I need to know how I am. So, like, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. I
Yeah.
need to know how I feel. And I have to do this whenever I go into a connection then where I'm doing a healing session. I need to know how I feel, so that when I feel things from other
You know if
animals
it's
or
them or
people,
you.
I know if it's them or me.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's why that became very important. But now I realize actually we should all do that anyway, because then you know whether what you're feeling is you or someone else or something else.
Yes.
And I also think it's a really guiding principle for anyone who wants to connect with their animals, to communicate with their animals, heal their animals, be with their animals, or their people. They're important people in their... Like, I'm always animal-centric, but it is so important for being with people, but sometimes for people it's
important
easier.
For being with yourself.
Well, sometimes for people it's easier to want to be better for their animal than other people. Sometimes.
Yes, that's
because
true.
of that unconditional love bond. It's a different way of having a connection. So, if I know how I'm feeling, then, and I know where I'm at, and I can center myself and steady myself and slow my thoughts, then it's much easier to connect in with my animal friends and know how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And know what I can do to help them, hear guidance for helping them as well. So it's like, for anyone wants to make better connections. So I'm not going to say for anyone with animals. Listen, anyone wants to make better connections, whether it's with other humans or with animals, you got to connect with yourself first.
Yes.
And that's why this time in meditation for me is important. And I think whether you do it sitting down first thing in the morning, or you do it when you walk outside, or you do it when you're drinking a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, like, I don't care how you do it, making time to connect with yourself and know where you're at and know how you're feeling, and just being with yourself and not with everything else that's going on around you. Like,
I think
that's the important first step. And I think when you start doing that, that's when you can actually start feeling like, I want more of this. And you start creating more time for a connection with yourself. And
I think more so than that there's even the just being with yourself. Because there's so many people you see that struggle to be still or quiet with themselves because they're struggling with something. And that knowing where you're at and understanding where you're at, while it makes it better for you with everyone else, it makes you able to tolerate yourself. And
But for some reason, we also think it's easier to ignore it and be busy and suppress.
Yes. Oh, yes. I don't understand that.
I wonder why we're like totally exhausted and just an emotional wreck. You know, it's like, and you know, sometimes awareness can be really hard because you can be aware of something and not know how to deal with it. And I think really, we've gone on so long about meditation that perhaps we should talk more about how we can regulate. Like, we've actually just gone into a lot of the awareness stuff.
We've gone into a lot of the awareness stuff and a lot of the using meditation to regulate yourself, you know, over time by consistent practices. So let's quickly jump into what happens when you're angry.
Well, is it quickly jump in, or do we stop here and start part 2?
Okay, yeah, we could start part 2 afterwards then, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that would work.
So join us next week for part 2
for
on
continuing of it.
Continuing of this, and talking, I think, a bit more about ways of, once you are aware, how perhaps you can help yourself regulate and be with yourself with how you
the
are.
meditation side of things, just for a sort of closing from me, is it's interesting because I hear all these, you know, great propagandas of meditation and how good it is, but I don't know.
Well, then I think the thing to ask yourself is it a resistance, or is it because you don't understand it, or is it because you just haven't tried it enough, like devoted enough to it? It's like, if you half-ass it, you're gonna half-ass it. You know.
I'm not one really for half-assing things. I tend to...
But, like, anyone will if they have a resistance.
Definitely.
Because you won't allow yourself
the resistance, if I have a resistance, I'm unaware of the resistance. I think the thing I find is that about 30 seconds anywhere, anytime, no matter what I'm doing, I can very quickly... or I feel I can very quickly check in on myself, see where I'm at, and find that regulation, calm balance.
So then I think it's like going deeper. finding something deeper within meditation for you? Does that make sense?
No, I don't understand.
Okay, because I don't know. I'm not
using it as a tool to let my creative mind work. Is definitely something that I do, but that, for me, it feels closer to daydreaming than meditating.
It's journeying.
Journeying is another very good word for it. But yeah, so that's the...
Yeah, I think, I'm a good advocate for meditation. I just think it's a really good thing to do. I've seen when you've done it, a different level of peace within you, and stillness that I don't see so much when you don't do it or haven't done it. I mean, it's been a good few years since that you kind of haven't had a little practice. You did commit to it for a while, and I did sense a difference in you. And I just think it's still finding, investigating and finding what works for you, still seeking it. And sometimes part of that seeking is part of the journey and part of the lesson, a part of the process of it. And I do get it's not working for me, so I'm not going to do it side of it. It's it's
so
not that
I never think about it as that. I just think about it as that it's... I know the framework, which isn't even quite isn't quite the right word, but the going into a meditation practice, I feel like I get throughout the day just in little quiet moments, comfortably enough that I don't feel a need to then do it specifically at a certain point.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's you have the opportunity to find that throughout your day. And I suppose that's good to do. That's just that coming home to yourself,
Yeah.
Sort of reconnecting. If you've got frazzled, you're and I've got a moment, let's just,
Yeah.
Well,
it's one of the things I have to work on for myself is the taking the time, the sort of quotation, smelling the roses.
Yeah.
So that is closer to my meditation time. That's the let go of all the stress and the rush and the hustle and bustle, and just...
I just I don't think I meant to find your answer. I don't know.
No, I don't think that. But it's interesting because you're a very much strong meditation is the way to go.
Well, I don't even know if it is, but I do it. I do it every day. But
it helps you.
I think so.
I believe it does help you. I see a difference in you. If you don't do it, I see a difference in you.
Okay.
But
so I just wonder if, because the difference between you and me is I'm very, very feeling, everything is very feeling. You're feeling, but in a different way. There's the way you sense the world is different to the way I sense the world. So perhaps the difference for me with the meditation is because of it allows me to really work on my senses and feeling. And I think that's a lot of what I get out of it. But you don't feel or sense the need to feel or sense in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's the way you perceive your world and the way you interact with your world is so different from mine that, I'm certainly not the person that could help you to find a meditation that would be the right meditation for you, because my experience of meditation for what I want is
that's it. It's the interesting thing, because if I was to roughly in the wheelhouse of meditation sort of think of the things that would interest and draw me, it would be visualization, journey, even just sitting in silence, a deprivation tank type thing, that sort of just shutting everything else out and just being left with me and even my journeys or visions or daydreaming, whatever you want to call it, just being great. That is a really nice time for me.
What I found with it is I found it I'd had an experience as a child where daydreaming was sort of I was told not to daydream.
Yep.
So for a long time, I really struggled with visualization.
Mm-hmm.
But through a meditation journey and through actually doing journeying within meditation, my ability to visualize and sort of daydream or journey in my mind is so much stronger now. But that has taken my meditation journey to open that up. And I think that for a lot of people, when we get into this mechanized external world, we forget about daydreaming. And daydream is a way that our subconscious and the world around with us communicates things.
Yeah.
It's like dreaming is too,
Yes.
you know.
Yep.
And like that's another sort of deeper connection that can happen within yourself when you actually just spend some time letting your mind wander.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't think on thoughts. When you daydream, it's not thoughts in the same way. It's like it is like a journey. Do you know what I mean?
So that's it
It's
for
like
me.
a
It's very much like a
visualization.
journey. When I go to, and times I've tried to meditate before, I do the blanking the mind sort of thing, the focusing on my
I
breathing.
never do the blanking. The
So
mind.
I let go of everything
Yeah.
else I'm thinking about, work, everything like that, to-do lists, focusing on breathing or my body or something like that, just to take me back into myself. And then I let my mind take me wherever it wants to go. And I don't even feel I sort of pursue it.
No.
I just follow it.
So yeah, and that's like, it's amazing because I'm starting to do that now. But I will, like, sometimes visualizations are so bizarre, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
You're just like, what is this? But I literally go, what is this? Boom, it's gone. Damn it!
Yeah.
So I'm still learning to allow the journey to keep going. You know, what is this? You know, it's like, so I go from being in this sort of state of actually seeing and visualizing and feeling something to back in the body in the real world, like, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm still working with. But of course, the meditation helps with that because it's, again, you come back into stillness, you know, it's always coming back into it.
Interesting.
So I think, like for me, every day, every meditation, every day, whatever I choose to do is always different, always feels different, always goes different. The more intentional I am with it, you know, each one, it will like come out like that. But sometimes it's nice just to let it be what it is as well.
It's interesting. It's two very different takes on meditation.
Even from within me. Like,
Yes.
we're two
Yeah.
very different takes, but I have different takes on meditation
Yes.
because every day I require something different or I pursue something different. So I think it's something really interesting to play. It's something to play with, practice and play with. It's not about anything more than that, you know. I think we always want to have a purpose and an intention. Like, we almost want to have a purpose out of it. What am I getting out of this?
Yeah.
And realizing what you get out of it is just the time to discover. Like, that's part of it, is just discovering yourself. And
Yeah. Very interesting.
yep, time to record part 2.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me.